So yesterday was Spreadsheet Day. This was created by Deborah, probably my favorite website about Excel out there. Make sure you visit her website, her YouTube channel, and she has a formula puzzle for us. So let's go over here and take a look. In column D, we have a small sample. Imagine the real world. This would be several hundred or several thousand rows. And what we want to do in here is we want to start at the top, the first customer, and say, hey, is this customer inside of this cell? If it is, take the code, but it isn't. We go to the next one. It's Joe and Company. Joe and Company is found within here, so we come back and we get Joe and Company's code and we put it there. The next one we're going to say is Benson. Start at the top again within here. It is. So we immediately get this code, we put it there, and you can see how this works. The third one, we're going through the list again. Benson is not within here. Joe and Company is not within there, but Smithers Inc. is within this cell. So we get this code, we put it there. And the last one is a repeat of Joe and Company. So we go over here, take this, and we put it there. But the challenge that Deborah has for us is that we have to do this using a formula. Imagine there's too many to do manually. And we do get these kind of questions in real life, those of us that work in Excel every day. So let's look at the solution and break it down. Now, I created my own solution, but I like Deborah's solution better because it's a little bit shorter. So I'm going to show you her steps. Step number one. The first step is we want to look for each individual customer over here. There's 3 of them in our sample inside each individual imported data. So look for each of these individually inside of each cell. So let's start up there. So here's the formula, and the first part is just the search. So let's go in here, highlight this, highlight the value, press the F9 key. We see value semicolon, a 1, semicolon, value error. That means there's 3 search items. That's why we have 3 answers here. Value error means didn't find Benson Limited. That's the value. Here's the 1. We did find Joe and Company within this first cell in D2 and didn't find the last one. Smithers Inc. is not within this cell. So this is the result. That's what we have here. That's what it's doing. This part is just building all of the search words, and it's putting a wildcard around the beginning and the end, which is very interesting. I had never thought about doing that. That way, it kind of builds into a later step. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Step 2 is, you know how back here we have these errors? Well, that's going to give us a problem. So we just replace the errors with 0. That's all this step does. Let's go back here, and we're going to go like this. We're going to do our if error right there. So it just turns the value errors into zeros. Quick and simple step. Step 3, look for a 1 inside of the array, or get the position of it. So we're going to match a 1 within there, because the whole trick here is when you put the wildcards before and after this group, or it's like a group of individual values, these guys, that means it's like find anything and this and anything. So it's always going to be 1s. If I were to take, let's just do an example here. If I were to take Joe and Company and put this in all 3 spots, go in here, and let's do our search again. It's 1, 1, and a 1 because they're all Joe and Company. So it's always found at the very beginning of the cell because it says look for anything. So all of this part is the anything. Look for anything and then Joe and Company. So if we didn't have those wildcards, it would be very different result. So let me first of all just go backwards here and go back to the original values. Now let's go in here and remove these wildcards, and I'll show you what it looks like. It'll look quite a bit different. So we do that, then now we're going to search for this text, press the F9 key, and it's a 20. So obviously it's still the same thing where we don't find Benson in this D2 cell, but we do find Joe and Company, but it's found within this cell, the 20th character. If we count the I is 1, the N is 2, the V is 3, count all the way over, the J is the 20th character in this cell. But Deborah had those wildcards around it, so it means look for anything and then the Benson or the Joe and Company. That's why we always get a 1. That's a little tricky, but it saves space, so that's why I like it so much. And finally, the fourth and final step is simply to use an index to get our answer. So let's go back to this one. If we were to just go right there, highlight this and press the F9 key, we get a 2. That's because we are getting the Joe. This is Joe and Company. We see Joe and Company, and the answer is Joe. The second one, this whole part over here, this array part, is going to give us a 1 because this is the Benson. And let's look at this one. That should be a 3 because it's the Smithers, which is the third one. Let's just make sure. Go in there, press the F9 key, and of course it's a 3. And the index simply says, hey, these are my potential answers, this range, B2 to B4, and I want the third one, which is this guy. Now, I'm not going to run through my solution because I like Deborah's better, but I did it a little bit differently. And my idea was just to say, same kind of thing, search with no wildcards though. If we just quickly go like this and F9, there's that 20 that I used. And I wrap it with is number like this. Press the F9 key. And so I'm saying this. If for each of these that's a true, I want to see the row number because I want to identify the vertical position of the one that we found. So if I go back to this part, press row number, press F9, there's the same kind of idea, the vertical position. This is number 2. It'll be the Joe. And if we go down to, let's go down to this one, the DD Smithers, go in here, use the screen tip to press that part, F9, it's a 3, the third one, which is the Smithers Inc. So a couple different ways to do it, but see how much space I have to use here with the row minus the row for a counter, and I have to wrap it with is number, and it makes a longer formula. So I really like the way Deborah did this and the interesting use of those wildcards to match the one in there. Very nifty. Anyways, happy spreadsheet day, or happy belated spreadsheet day.